Day 2 of the Karmelo Anthony Trial is officially underway in Collin County, Texas. And while the internet rumor mill is completely out of control, the actual courtroom is locked down with cameras banned and a strict gag order in place. A lot of misinformation is filling the vacuum. Many people are reacting out of pure emotion, claiming this entire situation was a setup, or repeating rumors that these two young men had a history of bullying. But according to the official police investigation, that is completely false. They were total strangers. Now that the trial has started, public opinion no longer matters. It all comes down to the 12 jurors measuring the evidence against the strict Texas law. Today, we are laying out the official police report and the exact check boxes for stand your ground and self-defense that will decide this case. And I'm still dedicated to fair and balanced reporting. Now, if you're familiar with my channel, you know I have a solid track record of predicting what the outcome is going to be. And that's because I really pay attention to the laws. Also, you guys know I have the advantage of having access to very high power attorneys, from Ronald Richards to Emily D. Baker to Michael Saltz, and I can really ask them any questions I want to for free. Also, it's important to note that I have boots on the ground. There are people there that I'm working with that are actually telling me what's going on in present time. Now, first off, it's very important to know that Frisco has been labeled a very racist town with only 9 to 10% African Americans. And it's in the South, which is famous for being racist. On top of that, Texas has a strict reputation not to be played with. When they say you gotta go, you gotta go. And I'm talking about DP, which is not on the table in this case, and that's because of his age. They have a strict policy is that they don't hand out the DP to minors. And at the time that all of this happened, Karmelo was 17 years old. And we know that this case has turned extremely racial, with both sides going at each other. And that could be why the judge has this unusual setup going. Now, I've covered a lot of trials, and a lot of times, if you are the media, you get taken into what's called the overflow room, because remember, he's only allowing 9 members of the media in the courtroom, and it's local media. It's not like these big powerhouse media. So that's weird, and have a lot of the Karmelo Anthony supporters saying this is a setup. Another thing, he doesn't allow everyone to enter the courtroom at one time. It's systematically. First, the lawyers go in, and then you have to wait a half hour, and then the media goes in, and then you have to wait, and then the public goes in. And that's really unheard of, especially when I used to attend the trials in Los Angeles. You guys know I'm from California. It's like, what? I've never heard of this before. And if you're lucky enough to get into the overflow room, most of the time you get to experience what's happening on a TV monitor. But not in this case. They're just sitting in silence as the jury's being selected. Now, that's very, 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 very strange. But it's his courtroom. He can run it any way that he wants to. Also outside, they're keeping the two sides separate. Okay, I'm talking about the Karmelo supporters versus the Austin supporters. Now, in the judge's defense, maybe he's doing this because he feels like this is so emotional. He doesn't want anything to happen. And maybe that's why he's doing it. I don't know. Also, both sides are not on the courthouse steps. They're separated and back a little bit. And I'm being told that's because he doesn't want outside noises to affect what's going on in the courtroom. You know how, like, you'll hear cheers, you'll hear boos, stuff like that. Now, all of these unusual steps that he's taking has kind of backfired on him a little bit. Because bloggers have no access to what's going on in real time, it forces you to kind of talk to both sides. And by doing that, I feel like some of the white people are softening up and kind of trying to understand what's going on from Karmelo's point of view. Now, the Karmelo camp feels like that this entire thing is a setup, starting with the jury selection. According to the rumors, there's only 2 black people that are being considered for the jury, and they're over 40 years old. So the Karmelo camp, they're pretty heated. Now let's go over this police report one more time because it's very important. According to the police report, a rainstorm just suddenly happened and everybody ran for shelter. Karmelo ran under the opposite school's tent. And that school is called Memorial High. The school that Karmelo went to is called Centennial High. So he ran into a tent full of students from Memorial High. So while Karmelo is sitting on a bench under the tent, Austin comes to him and says, "You're not supposed to be here." And he had to leave. While this is going on, people from that tent, from that school, stood behind Austin. They say that Karmelo opened his backpack and said, "Touch me and see what happens." Then, according to the police report, Austin either pushed or grabbed. It varies between different students that were interviewed. But I don't think the wording really makes a difference. The point is he made contact. According to the police report, that's when Karmelo reached into his bag and pulled out the poke and poked him once in the chest and ran from the scene, immediately surrendering to the police shortly after. According to reports, Karmelo was hysterically crying and fully cooperative. Then he said to the cops, "I was protecting myself. He put his hands on me. I told him not to." Now, according to the Karmelo Anthony supporters outside the courtroom, they're saying that Austin and his brother had been bullying Karmelo for a while, but at this point, there is no evidence to support those claims. And in the police reports, it says they didn't know each other. And at this point, we don't know what kind of evidence they have, because one of the judge's unusual moves, again, is he sealed the records. So we don't know what the evidence is. Now, because Austin put his hands on Karmelo first, the jury has to decide what kind of defense it was. Was it stand your ground or was it self-defense? Because if it's self-defense, according to the Texas Penal Code, Karmelo had to feel like he was in imminent danger. And in layman terms, that means he had to feel like either he or someone was going to lose their life. Now, the exact wording of the law is, they reasonably believe the force is immediately necessary to protect against the other's use or attempt use of unlawful force. Now, the key word in all of that is the term reasonably. Because if what you did isn't reasonable, then you overreacted. And then it becomes you're the one breaking the law because you overreacted. Now you see why this is going to be a tricky case, because the word reasonable can mean different things to different people. The jury has to look at the second the weapon was drawn. Was a threat happening right then and right there? And was Karmelo's actions reasonable? Now let's look at stand your ground. In the state of Texas, stand your ground means a person does not have a duty to retreat before using deadly force. And you don't have to retreat for 3 specific reasons. One is location, like this is my house, I live here. This is my school, this is my stadium, this is my track meet. In other words, I have a right to be here. Number 2, that they did not provoke the person against whom the force is used. So was Austin picking a fight, or was he simply telling him this is not Centennial's tent? Like, this is not Centennial's tent. You know this is for a memorial. Are you trying to pick a fight? And then the last definition of stand your ground is number 3. They were not engaged in criminal activity at the time the force was used. And I think that's very easy to concur. Nothing illegal was happening during this exchange. And the whole exchange only lasts a couple of minutes. So as you see, nothing about this case is easy, even from picking the jury. Some people say, you are setting him up for failure. You are putting him, an African-American, Karmelo Anthony, in front of a white jury. Another person's response could be, how are we supposed to put a lot of black people on the jury when there are only 9% to 10% African Americans in all of Frisco? And even worse than that, the bloggers, we can't report if there was a change of venue put in because all the records are sealed. So it's a lot going on in this case. So that's pretty much where we are for day 2. We don't know what's going on. We have to get our information from the boots on the ground. It could be more of the same that's going to happen. We don't know. But I will keep you guys updated. In the meantime, let me know what you think down in the comments section. Does this sound like self-defense to you? Or does it sound like stand your ground? I'm sure Perry is eager to have a conversation with you guys. As you know, he does my comment section, which allows me to do my research. But if you absolutely want my response to something, just tell Perry in the comment section. Say, Perry, we want a response from Sharrell about whatever it is you want to know about. Until next time, bye for now.